It's 10. Welcome. Welcome so much to my very first live stream. I've done a number of Zoom webinars in the past, but this is my first live stream and it's been scary, but hopefully it's going to work. And I'm still not on YouTube. So give me one. It's populating to StreamYard from YouTube. So let me just let him know, no YouTube yet. Okay, and we may hear some dings because I don't know how to turn my ding off. I guess I could just do this. Let's imagine that you can still hear me. So I've just turned my speaker down, so maybe that'll do the trick. So if you haven't already, welcome everybody. Check out the belting handout that I made for you so you can follow along. This webinar today is called 5 Things You Must Know About Belting. I thought that was catchy. There's a whole lot more to know about belting, and I will have future webinars on the topic. I'm Lisa Popeil, and if we haven't met before, I've been teaching voice for decades. I've been studying voice for, shockingly, over 50 years, and I have a continuing passion for all things singing in any style, but I've concentrated on American vocal styles from classical, operetta, pop, jazz, R&B, country, rock. What am I forgetting? Musical theater. And I'm a researcher too. So I have spent about 20 years researching and continue to do so. And I've got some high-speed video to show you later on in the program today that has not been seen in the public ever. And it's pretty darn exciting because I think it can help revolutionize this concept we have about vocal registers, which if you're interested in singing, you probably know that's quite a thorny issue. How we're going to work this today is that I've got a syllabus, and I'm going to talk about the 5 things you must know about belting for pop singing, rock singing, musical theater. Maybe you're a teacher and you have students who want to know how to do this. My emphasis is to define it and create and promote a more, what I would consider, modern definition of what belting is, rather than just that there's one belting sound and it's traditional, the traditional view that there's sort of one belting sound. So we'll get into that in detail. And I won't be doing exercises today, but I just want to talk about the things that, that are new, innovative, that make a difference. So whether you're a singer or a teacher, the things I'm going to share with you today can make all the difference. So you too can experience safe and beautiful belting without hurting yourself in any way. In fact, it can help if you are a classical singer or a choir singer or a choir director. This just adds more skill and can, in many cases, actually benefit one's classical voice. So I'm going to be talking for an hour and 45 minutes on the topic of belting. I have more than 5 things I'm going to share with you, time permitting. And then the last 15 minutes, I'm going to have the comment box open. And let me just pull up that, just for people who are joining us now, let me put up that belting handout link for you. Last 15 minutes, I'll be open for questions. I'm hoping you'll hop on to the comment box and can ask me any questions that you might have. I will be creating in the future a teacher training course. I'm still thinking about how best I want to do that, and probably offer a credential in the VoiceWorks method, which is everything I know, everything I ever will know, based on my long experience with singing in all different styles, and probably create a credentialing program just so people can carry on the good word that the work is based on, it's not just science, but it's based on what works for singers right away. I want people to experience improvement as quickly as possible and not have to spend 6 months doing vocal exercises and then maybe find that they're a little bit better, but still don't have questions answered. Let's see. I've been teaching since I was 18, but I feel like I really figured it out. 1990 is when I really put it together. And then I created a program in 1994, and it looks like it too. And it's called The Total Singer. And I will be putting up some product information as we continue. So 5 things you must know about belting. First of all, let's talk about the definition. The traditional definition of belting is it's a loud, yelly sound that is high and that it's extremely resonant. And the reason this idea came was because in musical theater, in order to be heard without electronic amplification, people such as the wonderful and famous Ethel Merman found that they had to really put out a lot of sound, not only loud in the vocal cords, but loud in the resonance in order to be heard in the back. And it was new and thrilling because up to that point, musical theater was classically based and women were still singing mostly in their head voice. They're not talky sound. So they'd be singing like this. They're in their head voice. And when Ethel Merman hit the stage, and just people had never heard this sound in musical theater world, and her sound, which was loud and resonant and exciting, became something that people wanted to hear. And the classical singing, head voice singing for women, has still continued in the musical theater world. When rock singing started, you could say that they were belters. Typically, that word wasn't used in rock or gospel singing, but it is the same kind of mechanism. It is a kind of, it's controlled yelling. It tends to be loud, and it tends to be on high notes. The modern version that I'd like to promote is that belting doesn't have to be loud, and it doesn't have to be resonant. Why is that? Because we now have electronic amplification. So you can be softer and still be heard by everyone in an auditorium. Whether you're a pop singer, rock singer, anyone who's in the commercial vocal styles, what some people call CCM music, or whether you're singing in musical theater, almost always you will be mic'd. And that allows you more choices in volumes. You could be louder or softer. You can add different kinds of resonance. You can separate ring from nasality. We'll talk about that. You can create ratios, more ring, less nasality, or vice versa, more nasality, less ring, to show character. And so you've got lots of colors. And it doesn't have to be damaging. You don't have to be loud all the time. That's very wearing on the vocal folds. Let me just go ahead and throw up that YouTube link one more time for some more people that have joined. If you go to that Tiny URL, you'll be on a cloud server and be able to download and follow along the syllabus with me today. So let's just say that belting is not head voice. Let's just start there. So maybe it's not soft, but let's say it's in a talking sound. We could say chest voice. I've been preferring to use the word M1, which stands for mechanism 1 or mode 1. And I'm talking to you right now in mode 1. And a lot of my current research looks and compares M1 and M2 head voice to see what we can see, so that it doesn't just have to be low M1, which has been what the research has been on to now, which is M1 chest voice has been investigated on low notes, and M2 head voice has been investigated on high notes. And I propose that with a little experimentation, you can do chest voice on any note of your range and head voice on any note of your range. So that's pretty groundbreaking, and it's very exciting when I work with singers and teachers who discover for the very first time that they can take head voice to the lowest note and take chest voice to the highest note, all with comfort and safety. So we'll talk more about vocal registers when we get to that topic. Let's start with the first rule of belting: pressing. Pressing the vocal cords, squeezing the vocal cords is a huge no-no. And there are pedagogies, meaning teaching methods in the world, that teach that belting is this sound. I'm going to demonstrate it. It's pretty hideous. I hope it doesn't break anyone's speakers. And it sounds like this. There are many problems with that sound, in my opinion. Number one, my cords are not happy. They just told me they're not happy. It's one of those sounds that's loud or nothing. And that is not a good choice for true artists who want to have flavor and character and choices and feelings in their sound. Also, it can create swelling if you do a lot of that. And for elite singers, meaning singers who are at the top of the field, let's say you're a rock singer and you're touring and you're doing 3 months or 6 months on the road, you can't belt like that. You won't have a voice. You'll wind up in the room, in the operating room at the end of the tour. Or if you're in musical theater, you might get just replaced. So that's not going to work. And if you're in a musical theater singer, you need to do maybe not 8 shows a week if you're a lead character, but we're talking a lot of singing during the week. So you need to have a belting approach technique where you have a voice where you don't experience vocal problems and all the emotional and financial stress that can bring. So let's imagine that belting can be beautiful. What a thought. That it can be safe. How do we do that? I'm going to give you some ideas on that, but you can never squeeze your vocal cords. Close is fine. You can close them. There's the front, there's the back. So you can close them. I call that clean closure, but you can even belt with what I call blowy closure, where they open up slightly, just a little bit, about 1 millimeter apart. And that creates a beautiful, warm, luscious, emotional sound. So you can use those two and still be belting. Now you may wonder, where does this word come from, belting? Does it have something to do with belts that hold your pants up? The answer is no. The word belting actually refers to an archaic American term. I mean, archaic, I'm talking 1920s, 1930s, probably the 1930s. It comes from boxing. That in those days, in the boxing world, if you really hit somebody hard with your fist, you belted them. You gave them a belt. So belting really means a hit. And when belting is powerful and resonant, it can have that effect on the listener. It can throw people back in their seats. It just creates electricity and excitement. So loud, resonant belting was and continues to be a very exciting mode of singing. I just want to let people know that there are other sounds that you can make that, to me, are part of a larger view of what belting is. So pressing your vocal cords, again, is dangerous to them, and I think it sounds ugly. And I don't hear professional singers doing it. I hear amateurs doing it. I hear kids doing it. I don't think you have to press to be a belter. How do you know if you're pressing? Well, you can easily learn to feel your vocal folds, and you can feel when they're pressing. So I don't ignore the neck, what's going on, all the different feelings in my voice box. I don't ignore feelings in my vocal folds. In fact, I teach a very precise way to feel many things in your vocal folds, such as thick and thin, different kinds of closure, feelings of more in the front, more in the back, related to thickening. When you thicken your vocal fold, you'll feel more in the front of your voice box. And when you thin your vocal fold, you'll feel more in the back of your voice box. All of these feelings will help you be a more expansive and precise singer. All right, let us go to number 2 of 5 things you must know about belting, which is support. You've probably heard the word support. What does that mean? Well, I teach torso support, which means jobs that you do in your chest, your ribs, your upper belly, your lower belly, and maybe your waist. The waist doesn't work for everyone, so I call that optional. But at least the first 4, chest, rib cage, upper belly, lower belly. There are ancillary, meaning extra kinds of support that you can add sometimes relating to the neck, the toes, the inner thighs, the butt. Those can be extra. But to me, the main support jobs that create that help create and support beautiful singing in any style is the 4 that I'm going to share with you. And you will find that list on the 3rd and 4th page of the handout. Now, if you've just joined us, let me go back to the handout link for you. I invite you to download that so you can follow along. There have been a lot of questions. Will you be able to see this video? And when we get all the bugs worked out, I might do a little editing on this, clip out the very beginning part. We'll see. The plan is to have this video available for review as a public link on YouTube, and I'll also post it on Facebook on my personal page and on my fan page, the VoiceWorks page, for 1 week. And then after that, I will probably be making that a private link. And next week's video live stream, or the live stream for next week, which is Master Pop Vocal Styles, that will also be available for those who couldn't make it today. I've had several people who wanted to come, or they can't for whatever reason, and I want to make it available later on, at least for a week. And you can always email me, and I'll send you a link to, the private link if you miss that window. So support is short for the phrase abdominal breath support. That's where the term comes from. I started voice lessons when I was 6 years old. And all through my training, decades of training, I found that the topic of support was vague. And every teacher had a different view on how to support. Some thought it was important, some didn't think it was important at all. And I still couldn't control my voice. To me, the great singing comes from being able to control my voice, knowing what I'm doing. And because I was so confused about like, is there a best way to support? I've experimented with support, and I've tried all the ones that I've been exposed to, including some wacky ones that are like, didn't work for the people and that were like really unusual. So I found that this method seems to work for everybody and right away, which is part of my deal. VoiceWorks to me is, how can I make my voice work quickly so I can get on to the magic of singing, of performing, of sharing my voice with other people in a way that is fun. I feel good about it. It works for me, kind of like driving lessons. That's how I think about voice training. The car's there. You've got your car. I'm just going to give you driving lessons. It's not a big deal. I figured it out. I've done the hard work. I've done the experimentation and the investigation. Now I'm going to try to take the mystery out of singing and make it easy for you, no matter which style you're interested in singing. So to me, support, if you support properly, Not too little, which is the problem most people have, and not too much, because you could over support. If you're one of those overachievers that does everything 120%, you may over support. So why is support important? It's because the vocal cords do not vibrate themselves. They are merely flapping because they're reacting to a steady stream of pressurized air, not just air. It's not just you're putting air on them, you're putting pressurized air. If you take your hand and you blow on it, that force in the airstream, the force that helps you blow out candles on a cake, that is what makes the vocal cords vibrate. And if they don't get enough support, they don't get enough pressure, support creates pressure in the airstream, then you will get compensatory tension. Compensatory tensions mean your neck is going to tighten maybe, or your jaw will grab, or your tongue will move around, or the tip may retract. Or you may find that your head tweaks and pulls and lifts, and you will feel effort. When the vocal folds get what they need, you will have little to no compensatory tension. You won't have tension that doesn't feel good, that doesn't look good, and can create a sound that you don't like. So you want to sing, you want to support, you need to support for every note you sing. That means low notes, high notes, loud notes, soft notes, head voice, chest voice. But we need more support for belting. Why? Because M1, mode 1, mechanism 1, chest voice, whatever you want to call it, the talky sound, in this mode, the vocal folds are taller, like clapping, and they closed more than half the time in general. So they look like this, but hundreds of times a second. But if you could see this, and when I show you the video later, you can actually see my vocal folds do this clapping action on a high C. That's C6. A lot of people don't think that's possible. I could do it any 3 in the morning, I can do it. It's just something the cords can do that we don't realize. So in order to get the cords to do this, it requires more pressure. And if I don't have enough pressure, I'm more likely to squeeze. That squeezing the vocal folds is compensatory tension. The cords aren't happy. They want to get the sound out, so they press and make this really loud, ugly, and in my view, dangerous sound. So support is the main controller of your vocal folds. And when properly done, results in steady, comfortable, consistent singing, no matter what pitch you're on or how loud or soft you are. And we'll go over the details. I just want to make sure I get through the five things you must know about belting, and then we'll go over the details. So stick around for that, because that you're not going to hear anyplace else. For some reason, the thing I think is the most important thing on being a good singer is the one that's the least talked about, the least clearly defined. And I think you'll really like my approach because it's road tested, meaning it's been thousands of people have tried it and people say, oh, that just fixed all my problems. Okay, great. Okay, let's move on. Let's get to the songs, because that's what it's really about, isn't it? All right. Now, let me go put up for people who have just joined us. Here is the link to the handout. It's a cloud server, and you're welcome to go on and follow along and save it. If you found that you weren't able to save it, just email me. You can, if you go to my website is popeil.com, and you can contact me through my website. I'll put you on my list, my world's tiniest vocal newsletter list, so that you can receive all information about upcoming webinars, teacher training courses, credentials, being a credentialed VoiceWorks teacher. So check my website out. I've got lots of free videos. I'm going to be upgrading all my videos because I've got the time. So I'll be making more instructional videos, but I've got like 35 free videos on my website. Also on my YouTube channel, which is Lisa S. Popeil, Lisa S. for Stephanie, which is so silly, but but it's pretty, but it's kind of a prissy name. But anyway, Lisa S. Popeil on YouTube. I have my free vocal videos there as well. Or you can always email me if you have things you'd like to talk about. I mean, don't send me 20 links that you need me to listen to. If you need me to listen to one link will do, thank you. That's my email address. All right, let's move on for right now to number 3. Number 3 is, did I not put this on there? Let's find the right one. Okay, now this is really different, so you may not like this, but this is what I think now. And it's changed. It's constantly changed. I think that when you sing, you're in one mode or another, that you're not in a third mixed mode. You're not in a combination of head and chest. Excuse me 1 second while I dab my nose. Dab, 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 dab. Thank you. In my view now, and especially after the latest research that I did in the Czech Republic, I'm almost certain that every note you sing, if you hold the note out and you're sensitive to your feelings in your vocal folds, you'll be able to hear that you're still in chest voice. It's still a talking sound. So I think of vocal registers as either M1, chest voice, or it's called modal register, or M2, head voice, sometimes called falsetto. To me, those are the same things. And belting, here's the key. Belting has to be an M1. It has to be in chest voice or modal register. Some people women who come from the classical world, they're used to singing like that. And so they'll make their resonance sound real belty like that, but they're still singing in head voice in their vocal folds, and they'll think they're belting. And that's not real belting. That's sometimes been called faux belt. And so belting is not based on what it sounds like in your resonance. Belting is the foundation of belting is your vocal folds. Are they in the clapping mode? Are they bulky looking? They'll have more of a bulk look. They should be closed usually more than half the time. There's a kind of a slapping look to them. That's typical of chest voice or M1. And if you've just joined us, M1 is a new term to describe mechanism 1 or mode 1. And it's primarily a vocal fold vibrational pattern. We put a camera down. But I feel that if you're singing and I put a high-speed camera, not a strobe, but a high-speed camera down your throat, I could tell you by sight if it was M1 or M2, meaning if it was chest voice or head voice, because there's a look you can tell. So as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, chest voice has a clapping, more of a clapping, and they clap so that the front of the vocal fold and the back of the vocal fold look like they're clapping at the same time. And head voice has more of an undulation. The chords look a little thinner, and they sort of undulate like that. Sometimes they can zipper like that. Sometimes they don't zipper. I have seen zippering in my M2, my head voice. But I have several very knowledgeable colleagues that are, the great researchers of the world, and they say that zippering, meaning front to back closure or back to front closure, is just a random thing. It sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't, and is not related to registers. But in mine, you'll see when I show you later, if you hang out, I'm going to show you first time ever seen in the world anywhere, because it's never been, I don't think anyone's researched it before. I'll show you my high C. Wait, let me turn my keyboard. I have a keyboard here. with a high C, which is C6, which is over 1,000 times a second, high-speed video of the two different, and you should notice a difference. You'll notice clapping in M1, and you'll notice undulation in M2, which is like thrilling to me. So belting again, belting has to be in M1, not in some kind of belty sounding M2. And when you go up, here's the tricky part. When you start going up in pitch, you sing higher in M1, you still have to thin the vocal folds. You have to think thin, like you're stretching the vocal folds. Now, if you're sciencey, if you're a science person and you've been following the research, we think of M1 as thick, and there's some truth to that. But you can still thin the thicker chord a little bit. You can still, if you had a thick rubber band, you could still thin it if you try. So yes, M1 is thicker than M2, but you can still thin on M1. You can still thin. I'll just say that for now. I will say that an M2 you can thicken. So don't think thin chord is M1 and M2 is you have choices. And in my more advanced classes, I show people how to do that easily. So you have, again, more choices. And I want choices. I'm an artist with my voice. I want to be able to do what I want to do and have my character or my feeling not limited by a small idea of what things are supposed to be. So in order to go higher in M1, you have to do a combination of I call it the magic formula. So what you do is you have to increase support, and I still have to show you how to do that. But I will say for now that the upper belly, I have a cute little picture on this. Here is a guy, and this is where his upper belly magic spot is. See that? So if you put 3 fingers, he'll be gone in a second. So below the sternum in your upper belly, this is not your diaphragm, it's your upper belly. Oh, I guess he doesn't go away. Okay, so I make him go away. So if you take 3 fingers and you put it on your upper belly area, that is supposed to firm out. It's supposed to firm out for every note you sing. That's the general rule. Not hard as a rock, but firmed out. So as you sing higher, and I'll demonstrate in a second for you, as you sing higher in M1, goodbye. As we sing higher in M1, I want you to increase the upper belly support, meaning firm it out more as you thin the vocal fold. That's weird, right? You're going to support more, you're going to add more pressure as you thin the vocal cord. Now you say, what's she doing with her thumb? Aha, glad you asked. When you want to thin your vocal fold, you just put your thumb back at your neck. This works amazingly for people. If you're a teacher and they're like heavy belters and you don't know how to get them to thin, this works for almost everybody. You just put your thumb next to your neck and you just do like that. And it just makes the chords thin without thinking up or down, because I'm singing higher, but I'm going backwards. This has many benefits. Again, I'm just trying to give you a broad overview, the things you can try right away. So what do? I put 3 fingers on my upper belly magic spot. I'm just going to give you a demonstration of how you can thin the vocal cord and take M1 modal chest voice to a high C. Here we go. How do I know I'm in M1? Because if I can talk on that note, then I'm calling it chest voice. Now people go, oh, it's not chest voice. But chest voice is a talking sound. And I'm still talking. Can you hear I'm talking? Yeah, I'm still talking. If you can talk, I can see all of you at home now making crazy sounds. Great, that's cool. Hopefully your neighbors won't be knocking on the walls. Shut up. But that sound, I'm talking, will show up with the camera as clapping, but a little bit thinner. Why? Because it's higher. So you add thick, in general, you get thicker as you're lower and you get thinner as you get higher. That's another general rule. So let's say I want to do this sound. Hi, right now, I'm doing this sound. And I'm calling that a version of chest voice of M1. Because if I were to talk, it sounds like a soft, airy version of my talking voice. And we'll show the chords will be a little more open when we look at it with the camera, but it's not head voice. Well, you may be thinking, but I thought head voice is when you feel vibration in your head. I thought chest voice is when you feel vibration in your chest. Not true. The reason we think that is because if you ever had a classical singing teacher, they think that chest voice is only for low notes and head voice is only for high notes. When in fact, as I mentioned at the beginning of our show today, you can do either chest or head on any note of your range. So what makes you feel things up in your head like vibration? Pitch is the main thing. So whenever you sing higher, you're going to feel more vibration in your head. Therefore, when you sing lower, you may feel vibration in your chest. But now I'm going to take head voice low, and I will feel vibration in my chest. Again, why? Because it's a low note. So I want you to begin to think of registers as completely separate from where you feel vibration, whether it's your head or your chest. Here's really low M2. Actually, I got a low A. I've got an A2, which is quite rare for a female. It's going to be soft, but see if you can hear that I'm going to go all the way down. Hopefully the mic won't cut out. That's M2 on a low A. Now, there's no money in that. Nobody's going to pay you to sing a song like that, but it's humanly possible. And I think that's worth something, right? Don't want to have boxes and limitations. I want to know what's humanly possible and then see what I can do with that. So back again to this idea that when you're belting, make sure you're not in head voice and that you're always in some kind of chest voice, meaning some kind of talking sound. Because you could fool yourself and think you're belting and it's not. Now, there's nothing wrong with being in head voice. Being in head voice and being belty sounding. Ah! But it's not belting. It doesn't have the same impact that people are looking for when the chords are in M1, clapping, taller, close more than half the time. Another problem with chest voice is that it's commonly thought that it's always low, which we talked about, that it's always loud and it's always heavy. And they go, hey, that's chest voice. Okay, so I'm going to try to take that high. Good luck. You can, but it's really tiring to the chords. And I won't demonstrate it because it's extremely loud and I'm not sure what my equipment can take. So it's also just not what people do these days. You know, a lot of people, they sing high, but they're not really like heavy. They're not singing with a real heavy sound. Did you know that your range is the average range is about 40 notes, which is 3 1/3 octaves. That's big. And we don't have time today to talk about range, but people's range is much bigger than they think because they just don't check. Again, I'm going to think in terms of the limitations of comfort, what I feel I could perform, but this might be your range. Every singer should know their range. And I've done research on singing range, and 3 1/3 octaves, which is 40 notes, is the most common, particularly for women. Men, interestingly, have often a bigger range than women do. So don't just know which notes you're comfortable with, find out your range. And on my Total Singer DVD, maybe it's time to talk about my Total Singer DVD, where there's actually a test you can actually, and also my free video if you want to go that route. But here is the Total Singer DVD. It's all downloadable. It's got a DVD. It's from 1994 from a video. So it's got a little bit dated look. You'll see me with much bigger hair, a lot more makeup. It's got an MP3 with 30 minutes of classical vocal exercises and 30 minutes of quite advanced, difficult belting exercises. I've simplified things since 1994, and a booklet. And I'm on my fifth edition of the booklet, and that's all available on my website, popeel.com. All right. So where were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about range. We were talking about registers and the importance of thinning your vocal folds if you want to go higher and stay in M1. So again, M1 doesn't have to be low, loud, and heavy. It just has to have a talking sound, I think. And you can make it louder, and it could be a yelling sound. So this leads me into the number 4 belting. And we're going to get into more detail about these 5 things in a little bit. But for right now, I just want to give you the 5 things you must know about belting. Here's the next one. Number 4, choose your resonance separately from your register. A lot of people who are learning belting think, again, it's loud, it's nasal, maybe it's ringy, and that they get linked. So every note they sing has the same sound because they think it's all the same. It's what belting is. When in fact, you can separate nasality. This is the nasal sound. Try this, just go ma, 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 feeling your sinuses vibrating, ma, 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 ma. So that's the sound of true nasality. There are actually at least 3 other buzzy sounds that singers can make. And I'll be adding that to a future. That's very advanced, but really great. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I'll mention it for my next Sunday live stream, because that's called Master Pop Vocal Styles, Pop, Rock. That's going to be, it's going to be right there. That's next Sunday, same time, 10 to 12, California time. And it's going to be on pop, rock, jazz, R&B, and country, American country singing. And I think I'll bring up the 4 buzzes. I'm still developing with a colleague who's, I think, Michael Hill, my illustrious companion in all things voice. He's in London right now. And so we're formulating our ideas on this, about how pop and rock singers and gospel singers use these other sounds, which you may think are nasal, but they're actually caused by different things in this area. It's really interesting. I'm really excited to share that. So I think I'll do that next Sunday for that one. Also, if you do come for that one, I might do a little bit of review. I might not have time, but we'll see. But I might do, just on some of the high points, particularly support, because I just think for people who are only coming to that, you cannot master pop vocal styles unless you know support. And posture is really important too. I should have mentioned that. Let me go to here. I have a cute little picture. So posture is really the foundation before you can even do support. You've got to have perfect posture. And that means that the back of your neck is long, your chest is high, your shoulders are relaxed. Don't pull them down and don't pull them back. And definitely, like in the first picture, don't let your chest slump. And that's tough for a lot of young people who are spending their lives hunched over a laptop or a phone. So chest really high, soft bellies, and the back of the neck long makes a huge difference. So then your support has something to work against, which is your tall but comfortable posture. So back to this, let me go back to here. We're back to this idea of how to control your resonance separately from your register. And that is that your nasality is one sound. And that's your nasal sound. Try that again. Ma, 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 on a low note. But another sound, another resonance is called ring. And ring is a very different sound. It sounds much higher. It is higher in frequency. It's quite piercing, metallic. It cuts, really cuts. And opera singers use it because they're not amplified. So they need to sing over 100-piece orchestras sometimes, right? So in order to do that, they have to amplify their ring, the resonance that's called ring. Otherwise, they will be drowned out by the orchestra. So there are different ways to do this. The way I find works the best is called ik-face. So ik-face was like, especially if you're from Norway, I have a lot of new Norwegian friends that are visiting today, my first live stream ever, and hopefully not my last. And so ik-face is based on the idea that something smells bad. It's like, ooh, that's icky smelling. Like, and so what happens when we're near something that smells bad? We do this. We're actually narrowing our vocal tract to protect our lungs from something that could be dangerous. Dead animal, dog poop. So ik-face is when you pull up on the side of your nose. Try this with me. You pull up on the side of your nose as though something smells bad. Now, try not to wrinkle the bridge. You don't want to do that. Just the side of the nose. Your nostrils may flare out a little bit. That's okay. Some people's flare, some people's don't. Doesn't matter. Doesn't change it. It is not this action alone which creates more ring. It's shaping your throat to that, and that is the narrowing of the throat. And some other things which we don't have time to get into today are the reasons that you have a ringier sound. So number one, ik-face. That'll start. Also, if you want more ring, feel like you have a long pointy beak like a bird, or that you are like Pinocchio and you have a long pointy nose. So think pointy. Here's an example of ring, isolated, somewhat as isolated as I can make it. It sounds strange and ugly, but when you do it while you're singing, it just creates excitement. And you can do it in any style of singing to create excitement. Here's ring using my ik-face and my pointiness. That will make your sound carry very far. And like I said, is a metallic, a piercing sound. In some people who are lucky, who just have really good instruments, your head is your instrument, ring sounds like bells or angels singing. But my ring sounds like chalk on a chalkboard, but it gets the job done. So you can balance your nasality and your ring in different ways. You can reduce them. So like right now I'm singing and I don't have much of either. Now I'm going to add more nasality. Now I'm going to use less nasality. Now I'm going to use no nasality. Now I'm going to add ring. Now I'm going to add more ring. Ring, 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 ring. And now I'm using a combination. That's about 50% of each. That's a combination. 50% nasality, 50% ring. Just think of all the colors you can do just by changing those two things. So I want you to not link that to what your vocal cords are doing. Now, I have done some research. For those of you who are really into the science and have read all the literature and have read all my research papers, and you'll say, but Lisa, I heard that your resonance affects your vocal folds, that they are linked. That actually is true. But I teach it in a way that gets results for people so they can have complete mastery over all the colors of their voice, with always thinking of safety in mind. So there's the science, which I love, but there's what works to get the quickest, most memorable, and most the results that create happiness in the singer and the teacher. You know, where you just, if you're still studying voice, you just can't wait to go to your singing lesson, because you're going to have perhaps a major breakthrough, an improvement every time you go. And so that's why I'm so interested in carrying on my work with teachers. I'm starting to teach more and more with teachers and choral directors, so they can, like I said, spread the good word to others. So, so try the ig face, think pointy, and just make this annoying piercing sound in the privacy of your own homes. If you use the sound N-Y-E-E, that's the best. N-Y-E-E, nye, and think really pointy. That should help to isolate the ring overtones, the resonance. And now try this combination. This is a nasal and ringy on this sound. Nya, 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 nya. But make sure your upper belly's firmed out. Got to support. Nya, 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 ma, 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 ma. And listen, use your ears. Do you hear nasality? Do you hear that low buzz? And do you hear the piercing sound? Do you hear the ring? And as you experiment with these and you use them in songs, particularly on the chorus of the song, you'll find that this chorus now just is so exciting, and you get variety. We're, again, belting, for those of you who are joining late, belting isn't just one sound. There's a whole, it's like an artist. You want to have a palette, and you have different combinations. Need to dab my nose. Sorry, it's actually a little cold here, and that always makes my nose run, and I apologize for having to do that. That's really awful. So again, number 4 of the 5 things you must know about belting. You can choose your resonance. You can be more nasal, less nasal, more ringy, less ringy, regardless of which register you're in, with whether you're in head voice or chest voice. All righty. Okay, this one's funny. This one is different for a lot of people. It's when you're belting, if you're new to belting, especially if you're a woman and you've been singing in head voice most of your life, there's in head voice, as we sing higher, 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 we blow more air through. In fact, if you're a classical singer, if you're studying classical voice, and you find that your high notes are not very easy sounding, blow more air. So actually I have a saying for that, which is, in head voice, the higher you go, the more you gotta blow. I'll say it again. In head voice, the higher you go, the more you gotta blow. Helps make high notes more easy. However, in chest voice, M1, it's the opposite. You want to feel like you are holding your breath back, not like that. And this is, I just love this little guy. So not like that, but when you're new to it, you may feel a little bit like our fish friend here. Have a little sip of water while you enjoy our fish. But it may start to feel like that. So here's what I'd like you to try. I'd like you to take what I call a sippy breath. Tiny little quick breath through your lips that makes your lips snap together. That feeling after, that's the feeling of breath holding I'm talking about. So if I'm doing an exercise, one of my favorites, it's called a pressure lips exercise, and it is on my, it is outlined on my Total Singer deluxe set. But here's an example of this, one of the pressure lips exercises with the breath holding. So I'll take a little sippy breath. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. So when you do the sippy breath, it actually makes the vocal cords ready to go in chest voice. It actually sets them up. So you don't have, after a while, you don't have to do the sippy breath. You just go, beep, 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 beep. Hey, I'm talking. I'm still in a kind of chest voice, a high chest voice, without pressing your vocal cords. And no, you can't sing like that. And it sounds good. It sounds like you. And as I just mentioned in our number 4, 5 things you must know about belting, you can change the resonance like frosting on a cake. Here's the cake. You can change the flavor. You could go chocolate. You could go vanilla. So it starts here. Well, it starts with posture and support. Okay, I know, boring, but important. And then the chords give you what your brain wants them to do. And then you can make choices above that in your face, your mouth, your throat. Okay. So we just finished page 1. How are we doing on time? We're doing great. All right, let's go to page 2. Let's talk about some of the extras. Okay. So did you know that there are at least 5 belting substyles used in musical theater? So it's not just that there's not just one. There's actually 5 in American style musical theater and pop singing too. So I'll just go through them with you and give you some examples. So we've got a speech-like belt, which is the most common. And that's the one that sounds like it's my voice and I'm talking to you. And I'm talking to you like that. That's the sound of speech-like belt. You hear it all the time, musical theater and in all the commercial pop styles. Brassy belt is the original sound. It's got nasality, it's got ring, think Ethel Merman, but it's more nasal than ringy. So here's an example. There's no business like show business. There's no business I know. That's my Ethel Merman imitation. Yeah, and people are dropping out like flies. So that is brassy belt. It sounds like a horn, so that's why. Ringy belt, and in the handouts I mentioned Kristen Chenoweth in Wicked because she used a very ringy sound like that. Popular, I've got that kind of sound. Still M1 in the vocal folds, and it's very ringy. So that's ringy belt. That's really good if you're trying to play, I'm stupid, I'm fun, or if you just need to really cut, but it doesn't have any like gravitas or weight to it. Speech-like sounds like I'm singing from myself to you. And then brassy is good for confidence and showy. I'm a big time showy. I'm on stage. It's a classic belting sound, very extroverted. Ringy belt is again good for I'm just playing, I'm kind of stupid, or what else? It's good for other things. It's like if you want to get someone's attention, you could put a few ringy belt notes in there. It'll definitely wake them up. Nasal belt, more commonly used with guys in musical theater. I don't think that's a good thing, but and Patti LuPone, I've heard her do it. So it's not as common in women. And it sounds like that. So where might you use nasal belt if you're interested in sing musical theater or teach musical theater singing? I think it's good for the kind of sound where you're bored. I'm so bored. I give up. When you just give up when you are resigned. So it doesn't have it's not romantic. I will say that. Don't try to do I love you. It doesn't work. It's not romantic at all. And for guys, if you're a guy musical theater singer, choose nasality very carefully, especially not on a love ballad. It's not romantic enough. Heavy belt is rarely used, and on my handouts, let me put this back for any new people who would like to download the handout. This is for our new guests. And heavy belt, I have in my handout Elaine Stritch, but men, I've got men samples too. There's something else if you go ahead and email me if you would like to receive my article. It's called The Multiplicity of Belting. And in that, I have samples, male and female samples that you can listen to. They're not links, but they're names, so that you can hear examples, male and female examples of the 5 belting substyles. That might help to attune your ears to, if you like this idea that, as I do, that there's different belting substyles, and that you can do all of them depending on the character. The character tells you what the sound is you should be making. The feeling, the emotion you're trying to express, that determines the sound, not your limitations, thinking that belting is only loud, nasal, or impressed, and dangerous and ugly. And it doesn't have to be any of those things. It just can't be head voice. Don't forget that. It has to be some kind of M1 clapping in the vocal folds. Okay, here's an example of heavy belt. Heavy belt, it sounds like you are singing through your neck. Try that. Try that at home. I'm singing through my neck. It's very heavy, throaty. And it is possible to take it up higher, but it's very tiring to the vocal folds. It's much better, I think, unless that's the character, kind of an old person who's like had an alcoholic, divorced 5 times. That's good. Heavy belt's good for that. World weary. Another little dab. But the other ones, the speech-like belt, brassy belt, nasal belt, and ringy belt, you will feel more coming through your mouth. That's a good thing. Classical, we all know singing through the mask, aiming the sound through the mask. But for belting, you want to imagine that you're singing through your mouth. Again, the speech-like belt, you're going to hear it everywhere. And musical theater didn't used to be that way, but once they got the little microphones, that sit in their hair, and pop and rock started to be almost all contemporary musical theater was drawn from pop and rock singing. Then speech-like belt became the main belting substyle that one would hear in New York and on the West End in London. That doesn't mean that the other belting substyles are not used. They are. And there are plenty of classically based musical theaters as well, in more traditional shows usually. All right, we're back to our handout. I think everyone probably who wants the handout should have it by now. As I mentioned before, belting doesn't have to be loud. It's often loud because loud's more exciting, and belting is exciting. And so when you put loud and talking and yelling together, it gets people's attention, and they find it quite thrilling. And a great example of a singer who sings in high M1, who can sing in high M1, high chest voice, but very lightly and softly, is Barbra Streisand. And I don't have the specific, but if you go back to her earlier albums, you'll hear these floating notes, and it's not M2. It is not head voice, but it's airy. The chords are more open. And it's soft, and it sounds like that. Sorry. It sounds like that. It's got that kind of sound. And you can just feel in your vocal folds, it's not head voice. So is it belting? Maybe not. If it's too soft, I don't think it's got to have some kind of hit to it to qualify as belting. But I'm open to your thoughts on it. We talked about zippering, that in head voice, you'll see the sort of undulation. I think I'll show you my high-speed video now. I know you've been waiting for that. Okay, this is very exciting. And I'm really curious about your feedback because I've had some scientists look at these high-speed videos I did in the Czech Republic in 2019. And the scientists don't really see a difference, but I see a difference. And my friends and colleagues that I do kind of on-the-fly research with, they see the difference, but the scientists don't see the difference. So let me know if you see the difference or don't see the difference. If you could just email me at lisa@popeheal.com and let me know. But I mean, I think it's pretty awesome and different. By the way, if you're interested, let me just tell you what you're seeing. This is using a high-speed video, and not just any high speed. Typical high speed is maybe 2,000 frames per second, 4,000 frames per second. The speed required to make these videos that you're going to see right now, 13,000 frames per second. That is how fast the camera has to take in the visual so that we can see it in slow motion. So the first thing you're going to see is high C. That's over 1,000 times a second. And you're going to see it slow motion, obviously, because our eyes can't see that fast. And you're going to be seeing M1. So look for, here's what I want you to look for. Look for the bulkiness of the vocal fold. And I'll play them back and forth so you can compare better. You're going to see like a bulkiness. You're going to see a clapping. Look for clapping. Look for a kind of a simultaneous closure, like they're clapping front to back at the same time. And also look that they're closed a little longer than they're open. So it's going to be looking like that. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Bang, bang, bang. So they have a bit of a banging look. By the way, I don't know if you can see my cursor. I'm going to show you that again. Don't know if you can see my cursor, but if you can, and you're not used to seeing this stuff, here's the front of your chords and here's the back of your chords. Front, back. Okay, now let's compare that to the high C in, there's no sound, by the way. You're going, well, where's the sound? There's no sound. In high speed, unfortunately, there's no sound. So I will show these and then I'll demonstrate. By the way, I tried to make them really similar. I didn't try to make the M1 really belty and then the M2 really weak and breathy. I didn't. I tried to make them sound as similar as I could and yet know that they were discrete, unique, different mechanisms. So here, let's just take a look at the head voice one. They're not even touching, which is really interesting. And they're open and they move outwards. That's the predominant, and they're thinner. And see if you see any zippering, meaning that the front and the back don't come together at the same time. That's what's called, zippering is called. And one more time with the head voice, here's the front and here's the back. Cool, huh? Okay, let's look at this one as I try to make the same sound I made. And here's the head voice one. I know, I don't know. I shouldn't be that excited about it, but I am. Okay. Thanks for all your comments, everybody. I'll get to them when at 11:45, I'll be able to check in our comments, and 11:45 is when I'm going to start answering some questions. I hope you are making some notes on questions you want to ask. Let us go. Okay, for anyone who's, I think everyone already has the belting hand up, but just in case, let me throw that back up again. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to go away because I want to show you. I've got this thing to plug. So, it's actually on here. So, about 2014, I was lecturing. Go back to banners and get rid of that one. Go back to this and show you this. So I had opportunity to speak for about 60 singing teachers in San Francisco, all members of the Singing Teachers Association called NATS, which stands for National Association of Teachers of Singing. And it was all on belting. And my husband, Bill, was there, and we filmed not as much as I'd wanted to, but we filmed it, and it's available on my website, popeil.com. I have a store, and on that store, you could, if you want to see how this works in action, me working with people, check out my belting workshop download, so you can have it at home. And it might be a nice review. You might see a few things that are different because I'm here alone. In beautiful Fillmore, California, if you want to look it up. It's in Ventura County. It's agricultural. It's gorgeous. It's an hour outside of Los Angeles, and I'm about 20 minutes from the beach, which is nice too, in the city of Ventura. All right, we're moving on to the handout. So we talked about the thinking backwards when you go higher like this. Here's M1, a siren. You can thin as you go higher. Now I'm going to do it all in M2, head voice. Still going to thin the chord as I go higher. Here's M1, all M1. The goal is to get it smooth. Upper belly's got to go out. Smooth is the goal. I think it's time to go to switch pages a little bit, and I want to talk about. Do I want to talk about? No. Let's stay on the schedule. Stay on the schedule on the handout. So we talked about when belting. Imagine shooting the sound through your mouth, and this will result in a more natural. I'm natural. I'm singing with a natural sound. Shooting it through your mouth. We could call it projected speech. We could call it calling. Come on, baby. Go there, daddy. How are you? I'm doing fine. Now, I can't do that without support, and I'm kind of holding off on that because I want to really spend a little extra time on support because it is that important. I don't just do this here. It starts with the pressure that I'm creating from between my shoulders and my hips. Okay, belter's bite. This is really, really groovy. I don't know why we don't say groovy anymore. I just think it's wonderful. It's such a great word. We say cool, kind of. I guess some people, like nerds like me, say cool. But groovy, just like 1960s, by the time you got to the 70s, it was gone. I think would you help me bring groovy back? Feeling groovy. All right, let's talk about belter's bite. So actually, I'm going to do this one first. So belter's bite is this way to hold your head that makes belting so much easier. And all belters do it. They don't know that they do it. They just do it. So, in classical singing, how sometimes we have our head tilted down? Not always, but it's very typical to have the head tilted down a little bit. But in belting, the head is tilted up. The back of the neck is still long. Oh, I could do this, couldn't I? Hello. So the back of the neck is still long. Don't pull your head forward. That's always bad. Back of the neck is long. Let's try it. You can move the head left and right. It's soft. Tilt the head up just a little more. Now, to do belter's bite, you take your two little fingers. We call it pinkies here in the US for some strange reason. Put your pinkies in your mouth between your molars. Bite gently. Not too hard because you'll hurt your pinkies. And that activates your chewing muscle, your masseter muscle. And notice that your chin is sticking out, protruding. That's good. This is bad. I don't want any lower teeth showing. I want no lower teeth showing. I want a firm jaw, firm but flexible. Yeah. Tongue relaxed in the mouth. Yeah. So again, belter's bite is neck long, head tilted up slightly, bite, activate your chewing muscle, chin protrudes, no lower teeth showing, cheeks lifted and out. And that's the belting look. I'll show you from the side. So when I sing, you can see all of this pulling forward is really important. And we'll talk about that because it affects the little hyoid bone. Have you heard of the hyoid bone? I think it's one of the missing ingredients in great belting. The hyoid bone, and we all have one, is a horseshoe shaped, doesn't look like a horseshoe there, but it's shaped like that. Not as big as my hand, and it fits right there under the tongue at the top of your neck. And it is one of the keys. We're at number 7 now. If you're on the handout, let's go back, let people know about the handout link. So the hyoid bone plays an important function specifically, particularly in speech-like belting, which is the most popular belting style in the world right now. And I think it will be for some time because it's very natural and pleasant to the ear. When it pulls forward, so I actually pull it forward. Now, you're going, okay, how do you pull it forward? I'll show you. When it pulls forward, it helps to make M1 easy to take higher. And again, just be patient. I'll get there. But this is something you want to know. Nobody in the world that I know of is talking about the hyoid bone and how it might play a part in any kind of singing. And I found it accidentally. So here's how I found how it works. Now you can join me. Take your finger and put it up at the top of your neck, kind of in there. Do your belter's bite. Put 3 fingers on your upper belly, on your magic spot. Right there. I'm going to push that out, not like a rock, but pretty firm, and go, hey, 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 and see if you can feel a movement forward against your finger. If I turn sideways, you might even be able to see it. Hey, 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 hey. You might need a higher note to make this happen, like you're calling across the street. Hey, to a neighbor. Hey, 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 hey. Just see if you can feel that little bit of pressure. That's your hyoid bone pulling forward. It's leaning forward. In fact, you may feel like your upper neck in this area too is leaning forward. The whole upper neck can feel like it's leaning forward. And this results in a calling sound. It's the mechanism that makes taking M1 or chest voice easier as you go higher. So, but you want to start with posture, support, belter's bite, and then I call this lean, the lean or laryngeal lean, but it's primarily based on the hyoid bone coming forward. You'll see if you've got the handout, not every belting sub-style uses that amount of lean. But if you want one that's speech-like belt, lean is your friend. All right, now let me take a little moment and talk about my next workshop, which will be next Sunday. Master Pop Vocal Styles. I'll be going deeply, but not completely, into what makes different pop vocal styles different from one another. And it's not just a sound, it's a culture, it's a history, certain feelings, there's quite a few differences. And for Europeans, these are American vocal styles. And I often find when I'm teaching in Europe that they don't know the background of the style. So they just make everything sort of sound the same. And particularly jazz. Jazz in Europe tends to be a pop style, what I would call pop style. Lovely, but we're going to talk more about what are all the differences so that if you were, let's say, to sing a style as what we call a session singer, somebody who sings for commercials, TV, and film, and I used to do that. They would want people to sing, it's an R&B style for this one, or it's a country style or a rock style. So I realized then that I needed to change my sound a lot, including dialect. The way you say the words is different for R&B than it is for opera, let's say, or musical theater. There's different dialects, different degrees of how crisp the diction is or mumbly the diction is. Very important in being authentic and being able to sell a style. So if you're interested in CCM or contemporary commercial music or pop styles, this will be a really good one. And that's all same time, next Sunday at the same time as you got on today, and I'll have a handout for that. Also, for guests that are just joining us, this video will be available. I'm not sure when, but it will be available soon on YouTube, and I'll have links on Facebook so you can review any sections that you want to, in case I went quickly with radically new information. All right, we're getting now to the very important support. I know it seems boring, but if you realize how important it is, it makes it less boring. So let me go to here and see what I might have for you. Do I have to, let's see, I guess we're just going to go from the handout. So we will talk, we start with posture. You want that head back of the neck long. You want the shoulders directly over the hip bones, directly over the hip bone. Knees are soft. Don't lock them back. Face is flat. Until you belt, then you can tilt the head up a little bit so that the chin is up a little bit. But your basic posture, that's a good representation. The upper belly magic spot, it's not the same place on everyone. So you have to poke around. But for most people, where the X is that. And it is the most important controller of your voice. Also for speech, for lecturing, for vocal control in any style, soft notes, loud notes, high notes, low notes, breathy notes, the upper belly is the main. If I had to pick one, someone put a gun to my head and said, pick one support, it would have to be this one. But they're all important. They work as a team, like in football. They work as a team to get the job done, with minimal work in the vocal folds so you can sing longer before they fatigue, tire, swell, get hoarse. First job of support. When you're singing, keep your chest up. Just keep it up all the time. I'm going to breathe by relaxing my lower belly. You didn't see it, did you, right? I just breathed, relaxed my lower belly. Air came in my lungs. By the way, support and breathing, two different things. Don't call support breathing. Support is what you do when you're singing to pressurize the air to make the chords work. And breathing is what you do. Breathing is what you do when you are not singing. Take a breath. That's breathing. So breathing is not when you're not singing, and support is how do you pressurize or manage your air. But I like the word pressurize because it's an action word, and it's true. Pressurize your air to make the chords vibrate hundreds of times a second. And again, in the case of high C, over 1,000 times a second. So first job of support for belting becomes absolutely crucial. Keep your chest up. Don't let it collapse. Job 2 of support, keep your ribs wide, not all the way, but wide, sides and back. Spread your shoulder blades so that the entire rib cage is wide. Now start with soft bellies. When I say bellies, I mean your upper belly and your lower belly. They're two different bellies. It's not all one belly. Put your hand on your upper belly, please. Let it be soft. Put your hand on your lower belly. Let it be soft. And put a hook here. Imaginary hook's going to hold that chest up the whole time. So you can have a high, expansive rib cage and soft bellies. You can do it. it's important that you get used to having soft bellies so they can move. They relax for breathing, and they work for support. And the ribs just stay gently, comfortably expanded at all times. All right, let's move on to the next page. So let's talk about this upper belly. If it's so important, you want to know how to gauge how much pressure you need. Most people under support. If they're having any issues with their voice, it's usually because they under support and then they get compensatory tension somewhere. So you take 3 fingers. How do you find your magic spot if it varies in position? So what you do is I would just say start here and make a very loud SH sound like this. Shh, and poke around. Shh, 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 and find the spot that goes out the most. And that will be your upper belly magic spot. And its job in singing is to firm out. Not like a rock, but like a trampoline, pretty firm, and stays out for every note you sing. So here's relaxed, here's supporting, relaxed for breathing, supporting for every note. Loud notes, soft notes, high notes, low notes, and especially for belting. This you must do, otherwise your chords may press and you'll sound like that, which a lot of people are taught to sound like that. Who wants to hear that? But that's just me. That's my opinion. All right, so you hopefully now have found your magic spot, and it's gonna firm out like a trampoline, spongy firm out against your fingers. Lower belly, it has a different job. Now, if I had my choice, I would have made this all much simpler, but I just don't shoot the messenger. I'm just passing on what I know works because I tried everything else. I wanted to find a support. I'm back. Hello. I wanted to find a support method that worked for all styles. There are support methods that work for classical that are different. And I know that, and I might do that if I'm singing operatically. I might use a slight adjustment. But this is about belting. And 5 things you know about belting. One of the most important is exactly how to support. Okay, lower belly. What is that? Well, you take your thumb, hello, you put it on your navel, and you put your hand below. Don't open your fingers. Keep them close. It's soft to start. Now, when I make my sh, clutch the lower belly in. Shh, shh, shh. And let it relax in between the shs. Shh. Keep your chest high. Shh. Keep your ribs wide. Shh. Shh. So the lower belly's job, in my experience, is to go clutch in, not in and down, not in and up. And if you were taught to push it out, I think you may have vocal problems, like high notes might be not comfortable or sound very good. Try the lower belly in. It makes high notes easy. I call the lower belly support the high note helper. I'll say it again. Any high note, pull it in more, pull it in. It makes the high note easy. For belting, for opera, just pull it in. So the upper belly, here's the action to review. Upper belly goes out for the sound, and the lower belly clutches in. Relax them for breathing. Shh. Shh. Nobody will see it because the chest, they're looking here. And the chest isn't moving. It's comfortably high all the time. Waist, remember earlier, if you were here earlier, it doesn't work for everybody. But some belters, especially if you're really loud, this is great. So it's worth trying, okay? So here's what you do. You take your hands and you put them on the small of your waist, right there. Keep your chest high and see if you can push your waist out. Shh, 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 shh. See if yours goes out. If it does, great. If it doesn't, not a problem. It's not a problem. But if you do have waist support, you may find you can just be even louder with comfort. So those are the 5 jobs of support The first four: chest up, ribs out, upper belly magic spot firms out for every note sung, and lower belly gradually clutches in for singing. Those are the four main jobs of support. I just found a couple of other pictures I wanted to show you that I think you'll enjoy. So one of the rules, important things, don't never squeeze your vocal folds. And if you're a belting, don't always be loud. It's boring to the listener and it's hard on your vocal cords. So you want to vary your volume. So you're softer, louder, very loud, medium. It's more interesting for everybody. Here's a great example of visual example of the belter's bite. See, we don't see the lower teeth. We see the chin protruding. The jaw is firm, but it's flexible. And the cheeks are lifted and wide. So that's a good picture. What else? See if I have anything else for you. And I also have 4 categories of belting exercises, and we won't have time today to review those. Actually, we do have time before a question and answer, so I just lied. So let me share with you a little bit on these. So these are the ones I use, depending on the person, depending on what we need to do, what we're trying to accomplish. So the calls are things like, "Come here, mommy. Go there, daddy. Come on over here. How you doing? I'm doing great." And you get used to calling with control, with a lot of support, shooting the sound through your face. For this, we shoot through the face, not just through the mouth. "Hello, how are you?" And breath holding. "I'm holding my breath back as I make this sound." So we're training the ear and training the brain that this is what belting feels like. It feels like I'm calling across the street, but in a really comfortable way without pressing the vocal folds. A little while ago, I introduced the pressure sounds. That's a pressure cooker. And my favorite one is beep, 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 ba, 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 ba. Some people like B, some people like ba, 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 ba. They like ba, 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 ba. And you can do this on a song. Let's say you're having trouble with certain high notes. You can just do the melody, but use these sounds. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. You can just do ba, 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 ba. The 4 to experiment with are B, ba, ba, or ba. Everyone has one of those. Let me retrace that. One of those sounds will work best for you as you get this clear sound with a lot of support, no pushing. It shouldn't be a rough sound. It should be an easy sound. And then you can try it on the melodies you're having trouble with to train the chords to clap and hold. And you'll feel you want stability. You want stability right there. The nasal exercises are probably my least favorite. They're ones that make belting easy because they're nasal. That's a long story, but it has been shown scientifically that nasality helps the vocal cords work more easily. But as I mentioned earlier in our live cast, I don't want people to think that nasality and belting are one and the same. But an example would be like, nya, 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 nya. Nya, 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 nya. That's na 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 na. That's an example of an exercise you could do. The laryngeal lean, now he's doing it too much, but I thought he was funny. He's a drill sergeant, in the military. So it's just this idea that you're going to have lean, and by a lean again, if you're new to it, is this pulling forward of the upper neck, the hyoid bone. Maybe the thyroid cartilage is actually getting pulled forward. Hey, hey, hey. And I have different exercises for that. And those exercises are also on my the Total Singer DVD. If you're interested in some just easy pop exercises, I've got my daily vocal workout for pop singers. Even though I'm not a really pro exercises or everything. I think it's more important to know how to sing than doing a lot of exercises. I like how to sing and then just a minimal amount of exercises and then get to the songs. There are thousands of songs to work on and to enjoy and to perfect. Why spend so much time doing vocal exercises? It's more important to know exactly what to do and then sing what you want to sing. But I had requests. So people said, I'm driving to work. We're in LA. We drive around the highway. Would you please create something for us? So I created it's training. It's a training, and I'm coaching through it. And people say, I use it every day on my way to work. So I have a male version and a female version of I also have it as CDs, but as those sell out, the females is sold out. I only have CDs left in the male version. But anyway, on my website, popeil.com, they're very inexpensive if you like doing vocal exercises. I also have a book I'm really, really proud of. It's published by a website called singdaptive.com. And it's a beautiful book. It's available on Amazon. It's an ebook and a paperback. I like the paperback better. I think it's the formatting's just a little better. I've got it took me several years to write this, and it's a lot about the business, about being a professional pop singer. And I've interviewed lots of interesting people in Los Angeles, performers, agents, managers, promotion, radio promotion. So it's for a small book. It's full of information I wish I had when I was an artist in the 80s. That's Sing at the Top of Your Game. And I have one more book, which is the Sing Anything, which I'll talk about more next time, because it's really about what's involved in singing different vocal styles. Sing Anything, Mastering Vocal Styles. And you can read more about that at the singanything.com website, singanything.com website. And it's co-written with a colleague in the San Francisco Bay Area. Her name is Gina Latemerlo. Shout out to Gina. It's a book we wrote together in 2012. And it's got a lot of audio material, a lot of exercises that I created for different styles. So different vocal sounds, stylisms like growling, and all the little things you want to do if you're going from classical to pop. You definitely want this one. All right, so we've got 4 minutes left. Before what else do I have? I also offer voice lessons online, obviously, and I'm loving it. I did it for years anyway, on Skype, since the beginning of Skype. And before that, I was giving voice lessons on the phone. That was wild, but it worked. I was able to do it. So if you have a lot of questions and you want to work on your own voice, let me know. Just contact me, lisa@popeil.com, or through my website. If you'd like to be on my mailing list, that's popeil.com. Just push the contact button. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, I have a lot of new videos that will not right yet, but be patient. I will have new videos for you on a variety of topics. And I'm also considering doing a quite in-depth teacher training program. This is only touching the surface of the 50 years of trying to make my voice do what I want it to do. And I still perform, not a lot, but I was supposed to sing in Norway this year, in Oslo, at the Zappa Union last November, but it should be this November. So if all my new Norwegian friends go to the Zappa Union, it's Frank Zappa music, and I hope to be there this November. So maybe you'll if you're in Oslo, maybe you can come by and see my crazy act. I got 3 songs, but I give them everything I've got. And I was a touring singer. I was singing with Weird Al Yankovic summer before last on tour with him throughout the US and Canada. So I learned a lot about what is involved in actually being a professional touring singer at my age. It was amazing, awesome, and it'll never happen again, but I loved it so much. So let's go to the comments. We have lots of comments. Oh, Raylene, thank you for, Raylene has, I'm going to let her plug my book for me. She has the Sing at the Top of Your Game book. Thank you so much. I'm really glad you found it useful. And more teachers interested in the teacher training program. I will. Oh, and then Myrna, you love? Myrna, you're in, which country are you in, Myrna? I forgot. Anyway, I didn't know if anyone outside the US knows about Weird Al. Okay, I got a good question here. Can I explain the role of the I hope you don't mind that I'm putting certain ones up there. Can you explain the role of the soft palate, which is in the back, where the little uvula hangs off, and the positioning during belting? Also, where do you feel the vibrations when you belt if you do it correctly? It always sounds so shouty for me. Let me go backwards. The shouty can often happen because you may sound fine to you may sound shouty to others, or you may sound like you're projecting your voice and sound really good to others, but to your own ears, it might sound like you're shouting. So I would recommend the magic formula. And I don't know if you were there for the early section, but magic formula is you increase support, particularly upper belly out, and you thin the cord. And that, and just a little softer. So softer, more support. I know that doesn't seem like it makes sense. So more upper belly out, thin the cord, and a little softer. And that should take the shoutiness out if there really is shoutiness. Because of the belting substyles, you will feel different vibrations, different places. And I don't sing by vibration. I was trained that way, but it didn't work for me because I couldn't rely on it. So I am more interested in feelings in my vocal folds because they're giving me more information that's more reliable. But if I had to say, aim for the mouth, and you might feel like your upper teeth are, when I sing like that, you may feel that there's vibration in your upper teeth and on the inside of your lips. The role of the soft palate, I don't do anything with my soft palate unless I'm trying to control my nasality. If I want to be more nasal, I let it drop more. Here's the back of my throat. Here's my soft palate. And if I want to be less nasal, I will bring it up and create a seal back here. So that's the only, I use my soft palate as a nasality controller. Remember, when I'm belting, I'm an M1 and I can choose the degree of nasality that I want. Now there is more to this, but it's too advanced. I'm happy to share it with you. If you want to email me at lisa@popehill.com, I'll share with you some science that I discovered by having a camera in my nose, looking specifically at the action of the soft palate when belting. And I think you'll find that very interesting. So again, I just think of soft palate as a resonance controller, not a belting controller. I hope that was helpful to you. Let's see. Raylene had another question. During the pandemic, when all our gigs, just sing. You know, one of the interesting things about professional singers is it's like a dirty little secret. A lot of them don't do exercises. They just sing. Now, there's some benefits to doing exercises where you do your whole range, like, but with good support. Now, the lip trills are very common, and they're good to do from your lowest note to your highest note once you figure out what those are. But a lot of people do the lip trills incorrectly. They'll go, Isn't that silly looking? That's unsupported lip trills. You want soft lip trills with support. Upper belly out, lower belly in. Every note is supported. Remember to pull that lower belly in extra for your highest notes. I call that the lower belly boost. But soft lip trills is a great warm-up. But just remember to sing. We tend to forget. We've got the remote. We're watching movies. And so stretching is so important. So lots of stretching up, stretching over, keeping the waist stretched, keeping the ribs stretched, keeping the chest up. So stretching, being aerobic, even jumping jacks is going to help you stay aerobic and flexible. That is so important prior to singing a song. Okay, thank you, everybody. So many nice comments. I really appreciate that. Let's see if we have any other questions. Where did it go? What do I mean by spongy firm? Okay, so, I think I can show you. That's a very good question. So I'm going to firm out my upper belly and I'm going to jab it. And that will give you a sense of how firm it is. Shh. There's some resistance to the jabbing. If it were hard as a rock, shh, it's much harder. Shh. So it has some give to it. It's firm, but it feels like a trampoline. It can carry your weight, except instead of you being on the trampoline, it's this way. And another way you'll know that you have the right amount of support is that your vocal folds are happy. Always feel your vocal, are they happy? And if there's too much support, you'll feel like, your vocal fold, you'll feel like somebody's banging on them from underneath. That's over support. But that's not the problem most people have. Most people don't have enough pressure in the airstream. And so the chords squeeze, or the neck tightens, or the jaw tightens, relation like that, or your eyebrows go up. That again is compensatory tension that can happen. So just, are your chords happy? Just ask them. They will tell you. You want them happy no matter how loud you sing. Marta. Aha, this is, yes. Marta, okay. I tried belting from a lower pitch to a higher pitch and back down, and I felt this crack in my voice that I thought was, and yes, it probably was. Even if you haven't studied classical, well, let me start over. If you have been a classical singer and you're used to chest voice on the low notes, la da 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 da, and a head voice on the high notes, then you may notice a switch. So what you want to do, if you want to practice M1 sirens, chest voice sirens, you've got to do posture, head up, belter's bite, 3 fingers on the upper belly. Take your fingers, very gently touch the upper neck and pull forward as you head into the break. All a break is just, it just is easier to go to head voice. But it just takes a little more work to stay in chest voice. It's a thin chest voice. So I'm thinking backwards, I'm thinning my cord, but that's probably not the problem. You probably need more lean, which is that pulling forward of the upper neck. So let me demonstrate. So I want that lower belly to push out quite a bit more than normal. Like really firm it out. Feel the lower belly come in. Why? Because that's the high note helper. So you're going to feel that in your bellies, and you're going to gently suggest, don't yank and squeeze, but gently suggest to pull your upper neck forward as you go higher, and see if that works for you. See if you're able to stay in M1. It's the most marvelous feeling of, I can't believe I did that. That was so easy. It didn't hurt like you think it might. and you can go all the way to the top. So please do email me later and let me know, please, if the lean and the extra support and the Belter's Bite helped you stay in M1. Ooh, people are noticing differences. That is so cool. Can I put the URL up again? Yeah, you might have gone, but here again is the link, and it'll also be when we post this on YouTube. I might edit a little bit out. I'm not sure. But either way, this will all be available for 1 week, but you can always email me at lisa@popeheal.com. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll have some goodies for you real soon, I promise. And let me go back to our comments. I guess our Europeans, they're going to bed now. Oh, so many nights. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any questions. We have just a few minutes left. Oh, Turkey, Elif, hello. Nice to meet you. That is so cool. I'm so glad. You know, I'm going to be, I don't know if you're part of the, there's an European EAP, European Association of Phoniatricians, but I'm doing a presentation on March 13th, live at midnight my time, and I'm going to be singing different vocal styles. So if you go to the Union of UEP, I think it's UEP, Union of European Phoniatricians website based in Antalya, Turkey, you'll see a link to the EAP, the European Association of, anyway, I'll just be doing a presentation for them on March 13th. And I'll be performing all kinds of different vocal styles and explaining how I'm doing that. So that'd be great if it's not free, but that'd be great if you could join us for that. So thank you for checking in with me. La, 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 la. You know, what's nice too is Marianne, how nice, people who I've known for so many years who are, just refreshing their ideas and hearing some new stuff like registers. That's pretty new. I used to teach registers the more traditional, conventional way. So nice to see you, Marianne. And I'm really happy when teachers write in and, just say, they just are able to be better teachers, better singers. And it's really just about love and sharing, right? And having a life. And if you're passionate about singing like I am, you just want to be the very best singer you can be and have a voice that lasts for the rest of your life. Not one of those people who said, well, I used to sing, but I don't sing anymore. And like, why is that? Oh, and a lot of people liking the groovy idea. That's so cool. Yeah, it was just so groovy. Can I feel Amber? Nice to meet you, Amber. Can you actually feel? Yes. You can, it's both. So you can feel the vocal folds. In particular, the muscle in the vocal fold is called the vocalis muscle. It's also known as the thyroarytenoid muscle. In particular, it's called the lateral thyroarytenoid muscle, which is the same as vocalis. I like vocalis. Fewer syllables, less confusion. So the vocalis muscle, which you will feel in the front, and as you make it thicker, you will feel like little fists are bunching up. This is how you can thicken your cord in M1 or M2. And you can feel it thickening in the front. I call it front muscle. It's just a feeling of son of muscle. Hey, 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 hey. And in head voice, hey, 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 hey. You can thicken both. They don't feel quite the same. M1, it feels like a real fist. But anyway, there are neurons, sensory neurons, in the muscle spindles of the vocalis muscle. So it's one of the ways you can feel your vocal folds is that you can feel the muscle contracting. So that's definite. There are mechanosensors, also known as mechanoreceptors, in the larynx, in the arytenoids. You can feel your arytenoids touching. If you go in head voice, you can feel the arytenoids like thumbs touching. Those are mechanoreceptors or mechanosensors, and they feel pressure and a couple of other things, but they can feel pressure. Also in the aryepiglottic folds, we have it. But I also think there are some mechanoreceptors in the vocal fold mucosa. Now, I have been told by scientists that that's not true. But I have read that Dr. Ira Sanders has done some interesting work on this. And if you email me, I'll send you some links on this topic, because singers often feel things. Now, are we feeling it, or are we just filling in? You know how the brain can hear things the ear isn't actually hearing. So there's a lot of what I'm feeling here is actually my brain putting together things little bits of pieces. So it's not completely, you can't feel everything, but you can feel thick or thin. You can feel front muscle. You can feel stretching. You can feel lengthening. You can feel shortening. I mean, I can feel which register I'm in. And there's other things that's more advanced regarding the tilting of the thyroid cartilage, tilting actions versus the lean action. So those have you can feel that with your hands. So I invite everyone to actually put their hands in there and just kind of dig around and you'll be, oh, that's cool. You can feel vibrato, different kinds of muscles working for vibrato. So this is an excellent question, Amber, and I don't know all the answers yet. Let's see, one last question, and then we say bye-bye. Okay, Stephen, from the classical world of singing, lower voice male singers are introduced to the concept of vocal. So does vocal cover, when I sing like, I'm trying to be an operatic man, failing, but trying, when I, so no, it's the opposite of belting. Belting is this pulling forward, this more shouting or calling sound, and that's not liked. It's not enjoyed in the classical. They want the deeper vertical. They want that kind of sound. So I'm in M1 covered, and we don't use M1 covered in pop singing. It's just not part of the style. But it's doable, but it's not belting. Belting is hey. So think of belting as a horizontal mouth, like a sandwich, and classical for women and men as a vertical mouth. It's just more fishy, like that. So the covered goes with the fishy shape of classical singing. So excellent question, though. All right. Well, I think we're done. I hate to say goodbye to those who stuck with me till the end. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate just for hanging out 2 hours, it's a long time to hang out with me. And I so appreciate that so many of you have done that. And I think it went pretty well. I think for my first time, it could have been a complete disaster, and it wasn't. I had a great time. Remember to email me if there's anything I can help you with. Again, if you send me audio stuff, please send me one sample, not 20, because I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be writing in. I hope to see you guys next Sunday. We're going to do master pop vocal styles, pop, jazz, R&B, rock, and country. And I'll demonstrate a little bit for you too. I have lots of handouts, lots of things to explore on my website. Again, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much to travel this journey to great singing, whether it's for you or your students or your choir members. Have a wonderful night, day, rest of the weekend, and I hope to see you all next Sunday. Bye-bye.